Well, we are at war, folks, and I'm pretty disgusted. I'm not disgusted we're at war, but I'm disgusted in some things that I'm going to talk about today. How are you all today? Welcome to American Reversion, where we talk about trying to get this country back to the way it would be if we had fought harder for it and the other side had not gotten ahead of us. Have you been watching? That's what I'm going to talk about today because that's what I'm disgusted with. I've been watching the Democrat convention, right? Have you? Probably not. And I tell you, it's the lies and the hate are just beyond what you can imagine. It makes me sick uh, to hear those people like Michelle Obama and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and who else was up there? Oprah and what else? AOC. It makes me sick listening to the hate-filled lies that they pound out there to the public. But I tell you, that's disgusting in itself, but that's not what I'm most disgusted with. I've said this before, that the Democrats are smarter than the Republicans, or conservatives, shall we say that. And that makes people angry when I say that. Now, I don't mean intellectually smarter, because some of them, top tier over there, they're smart people. I'm not going to argue with it. But the vast majority of liberals are stupid, or they wouldn't fall for the liberal crap, right? They are not producers. They are not intelligent people. They are people who respond to emotion and victimization. That's how they identify themselves. They'd rather be a victim than a success. But their leaders are smart enough to understand that's who they are, and that's how to lead them. And of course, they do that in order to get their own power. Have you read this, by the way? You ever read this? Rules for Radicals? If you haven't, you should. I went through and I loaned my Naked Communist to somebody to read, so I don't have it here with me. But I've read through all of those rules, the 45 rules that the American Communist Party came out with in the 50s, saying exactly what they were going to do. Exactly. And they've accomplished almost all of them. Okay. And that's one of the two books that I suggest everybody read if you want to know your enemy. The Naked Communist and Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky. This is their battle plan. If you haven't read this, you don't know your enemy. Too many on our side continue to say, but don't they know that their ideas don't work? Their ideas work fine for what they want, which is to turn the United States into a communist country. It's working. You don't know it because you don't know them. Okay. Now, I'll tell you what disgusts me. These people, like I said before, these people are great speakers. They are great speakers. Don't turn me off. Don't set aside and say, I'm not going to listen to this. How dare you call them great? I call them great because they're great speakers. They are great orators. And history shows us that it's the great orator, the one who can get their message out there to a mind-numbed, non-thinking populace, who will win. The people on our side are very intelligent. Juxtapose the emotional speeches of the left with the speeches given by the more conservative leaders. More conservative people talk in facts. And I'll tell you, the reason that I'm disgusted is not so much with the enemy. I don't get disgusted with the enemy. I view them as somebody we have to beat. When I watch some of the so-called conservative news, and Fox, it was interesting how they approached this. They continued to talk about policy. I don't know how many times I have heard one conservative nitwit after another say something stupid like Hannity. Okay, that's what I'm not saying the conservatives are nitwits. I'm saying that these people are. Hannity, how many times has he said, well, it's been so and so many days that she hasn't had a press conference. Okay, we know that. Get off it. Do something about it. I watched a little bit of several videos today on several other channels. They continued to simply give facts. They gave facts to such an extent that it numbed the minds of anyone who doesn't already know those facts. Let me put it that way, okay? And my disgust is this, that our side is not fighting the war that we are in. Our side doesn't realize there is a war. Oh, we'll say things like, there's the war on the family, there's the war on this, there's the war on that. Well, we're not acting like it. Our people aren't acting like it. They think that they can continue to just put out facts about, well, the CPI this, and the unemployment rate is this, and inflation is this. Everybody knows that, guys. Everybody knows that. Do you not know it? I'm sure you do. You do know. You don't need one more person to tell you what the things are in shambles because of what Biden and Harris have done. Okay? And then Obama before him. You don't need them. What you need to get up is to get up and do something about it. How much are you sharing? You know, I'm going out in a little bit. I should have put on my Trump cap. Whenever I go out in public, I wear a Trump cap. You know, everywhere I go, I get it everywhere. It doesn't matter. And there's sometimes I'll go into a store I don't even need to go into just so I can walk around wearing a Trump cap. Why do I do that? To show the flag. You know, everywhere I go, somebody, at least one person will come up and say, hey, I like your hat. In which case we can get into a conversation, or I just might say, great, whatever, other people hear it. Do you do that? Do you get into conversations with other people that you don't know about what's going on in our country? Most people on our side don't. Most people on our side just bitch and groan to each other, talking in the echo chamber to people they agree with. They don't try to evangelize. They don't try to get out there and affect what other people think. Excuse me. Now, what I'm doing right here, I know I'm talking to the echo chamber. I'm preaching to the choir, because most of you, if you're watching this, you agree with me, right? But what I'm saying, the reason that I'm doing this is to say you have to get out beyond here. You have to get beyond the YouTube channels. You have to get beyond your family and friends who agree with you and try to take this message out. Too often, our side hides. We want to hide. We want to run and hide. We don't want anything to do with them. We expect the leaders to do everything. And we want to hide. Well, so how many people on our side say, you got to take your kids out of the public schools? Why? Why? Answer me that. Why? Well, because of the things that they're teaching. Well, why are they teaching that? We homeschooled our oldest for 2 years, and then we put him back in. And you know what? We had numerous opportunities to go down and visit with the principal and teachers of their schools when our kids come home and tell us some of the things that are being relayed to them in school. And we don't just get all mad and just disgusted and pull our kids out. We stay in the fight. We stay in the public schools. And we have turned things around. And I tell you, you would be surprised what it takes when a parent goes down there, and more than one parent goes down to a teacher or a public school and says, hey, this ain't right. This isn't what's going on. I made one teacher cry. I didn't mean to. Tough. I stand up. I told the truth. And Aiden, when he was in 5th grade, took it to a teacher. We don't leave the fight. We don't pull our kids out of public schools because things aren't going our way. We fight. But how many people say, oh, you got to pull your kids out of public schools. If you leave your kids in public schools, you don't like your kids. I love my kids. But you know what I prefer to do than run? Fight. The reason that the public schools are in the shape they're in right now is because too many people left and didn't fight. So thank you very much for those who bailed on the public school system. You know, the public school system is full of a lot of good people. A lot of good people. And now, you know, let me back up for just a minute, because that was a little harsh. I know some families who homeschool, and they are exceptional people. just exceptional people. But they also took it upon themselves to really, they had other reasons for it. Okay. So I don't want to paint everybody with the broad brush. I am not condemning everyone who has decided to homeschool. I think that in many cases, it's an excellent choice. But I also know that so many people that I hear on here saying those things don't have kids in school. They're just saying it. They're just saying they haven't stepped up and done the hard work of actually running a homeschool program. Okay. So for those who left public schools and actually did a good job on homeschooling, man, you are at the tip of the spear. But for so many people who just want to say, oh, you got to get your kids out of public schools. Well, why haven't you done something to make your public schools better? We happen to have excellent public schools here. Did you know that? That's the reason everybody loves the public schools here. Why? Because of parental involvement. Because we hold the educators, who most of them are good. Most of them don't have to have their feet held to the fire. They want to do what's right. But they also need the backing of the parents and the people out here. Now, when a book comes into the library that shouldn't be in the library, hey, people make a stink and it gets taken out. And then you always get the few weird people who want to stand up and say, well, furries should have books in there too, and there should be all sorts of books. No, that doesn't fly where we are here. And I know a lot of people don't realize this. There's a lot of people out there speaking from ignorance. But to take that back to the broader field, the reason that these Marxist communists are winning is because too many on our side have just left the field, won't do anything about it except whine and complain about it. They want to whine and complain instead of doing something about it. What was that? A third of self-professed Christians don't vote. A third of gun owners don't vote. You know what would happen if only half of them started voting? We wouldn't lose another election. What's wrong with them? What is wrong with them? They are the ones that are at fault. Don't blame your enemy. There is a good chance that we are going to lose this election. And by that, I mean that Harris is going to get in. A good chance. And yet, I would say almost a majority of people on our side leave it up to other people. It's interesting to me that so many people who consider themselves conservative and thereby, self-reliant and things like that, they don't stand up. They don't stand up. They leave it to other people. Well, that's not conservatism to me. That's not being strong. The ones who will talk about, who will put up all the sayings from, the founders and things like that. Okay, what are you doing? Are you out there actually trying to influence people? We have a center 15% or so that decides every election. Those are the people that have no idea what they think, what they feel, what they believe in. Those are the ones that are swayed each election and determine elections. What are you doing to try to sway some of those? What are your friends doing to try to sway some of those? Anything? And maybe I don't mean to get hard on you, because if you're, and I'm not really getting hard on you, because I know that if you're watching this video, you probably are doing something because you feel the way I do. How about your friends? How about your friends? What are they doing? Or are they, if they're at dinner with somebody and a political subject comes up, do they just remain quiet if somebody says something they don't agree with? Are they able to come up and defend traditional values? And will they do it? The old ready, willing, and able applies. You have to be ready to do it. You have to be willing to do it. And you have to be able to do it by expressing yourself. The people on the left are great speakers. Even the ones who don't know squat, the idiots at the protests, they sure don't hold back, do they? They are loud. How many people on our side are loud? Well, let me tell you this. Get ready to lose this war. Because we just might. If more of our people don't stand up, they're just leaving it up to Trump. Trump will do it. Trump will do it. Trump can't do it if people don't get out there and vote. And Trump can't solve all the problems, even if he tries to. It's going to take a long-term, considered effort to get out there and do something. Who's calling me? I'll get back to you. The other side knows what they're doing. They had battle plans, and they stuck with it. And they have leaders who drive them. And they have leaders. You know what? I heard consistently through this whole Democrat convention. Get your friends out to vote. Get your friends out to vote. You know what I hear on this channel all the time? Voting doesn't matter. Voting doesn't matter. You know, if voting didn't matter, the other side wouldn't try to get their people out. And the other side gets their people out. That's why they win. So the people on the more traditional side, the so-called conservative side, need to take a real hard look at themselves. And, you know, it's one thing. It's easy to sit around in an easy chair and drink a beer and eat pretzels and say, well, this country's going to hell. It's not the country I grew up in. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm glad I'm not going to be here much longer. My God, that disgusts me. I'm glad I won't be here to see it. Well, why don't you get up off your ass and do something to keep it from happening so that your children and grandchildren don't have to live through it? How about that for a concept, Mr. Tough Guy? I didn't mean to get this hot. But man, when I get to going and I start to thinking about this, I am just so disgusted. I can't even, because I do not see the same energy. Oh yeah, I see the energy from the people going to the Trump rallies. Yeah, I don't see the energy on a daily basis. We will see, but don't be surprised if on November 6th, you wake up and hear President-elect Kamala Harris. That could happen. And the reason that it will happen, if it happens, is because our side didn't show up. And our side didn't fight. America needs a reversion. It won't get one if the people on our side don't stand up and do something more than complain. We will see. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.